they were driving back, and sandstorm in Fillmore, Utah caused I think it was like a 22-car pileup, and it killed 8 people, and 5 of them were my family. So my brother died, my nephew died, my wife died, my son Riggins died, my daughter Frankie died, and my son Blue was the one survivor.
Today we had Mason Sawyer on our podcast, and Mason is an amazing, inspiring person. We, it turns out we were going to Dixie State at the same time as him at Dalton, and who knew later we would reconnect. But his story is a story of overcoming tragedy and really just resilience to me. Like he lost his family in 2021, and he tells his story, which we appreciate the amount of sacrifice that takes, but we hope that someone will become a better person because they heard it today and demonstrate that resilience and that kindness that Mason demonstrates.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say just because I'd never heard the story before today in person with Mason. So, it really hit me hard and I really couldn't even say much just because it's just so hard to think about. But I am very grateful that he's telling his story. I'm grateful that he's talking about it and that we get to experience him sharing that so that we can have a little bit of that perspective, not even anywhere close, but we can maybe have just a little bit, maybe appreciate our family a little bit more, or those moments we have a little bit more. And so for that, I'm grateful that he's sharing it and that we get it to be a part of sharing his story as well on this podcast. And hope you guys enjoy the show.
Thanks for being here, Mason.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it. We're just making some connections. Mason grew up in Salt. Came down here for some college ball.
That's right.
So we played with your brother-in-law, and we're trying to recruit him for the City League team.
Yeah, I am a free agent, so maybe we can talk.
Okay.
Talk some business.
NIL money.
Exciting.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
But this day's been circling my calendar for a long time. I came across your content, and it just stopped me. It just stopped me and made me really think about life and your message. So I've been really looking forward to this. So thanks for being here, man.
No, I love obviously talking about trauma and griefs changed my life. So thanks for allowing me a platform to do that. And yeah, I'm excited. So thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
I want to get to know you a little bit more. But I want to talk about the process and tell us a little bit more about your background and maybe who you were before the tragedy in 2021 to help us a little bit.
Yeah, so grew up in West Jordan, Utah, youngest of 5 kids, grew up in a very LDS home. I just fell in love with basketball. My older brother played, and I don't know why, but I just got addicted to basketball at 2 years old, couldn't stop dribbling. And that's just all I did in the driveway every day, shoot hoops, and then wrestle and get beat up by my older brothers. It was great. And then...
So did you couldn't do both in high school, though? Wrestle and play basketball?
No, my brother, Race, was a state championship wrestler, though.
Wow.
Okay.
So he would just kind of pick on me every day. And it's great now because I'm tough and stuff. But at the time, I didn't see how it would help me ever. It was very painful. And then my older brother, Sage, was a football player, really good football player. So obviously, life was kind of rough with those guys.
Are you the middle?
No, youngest.
No, I'm the youngest.
The youngest, you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so I just played hoops. That's all I wanted to do was go to the NBA. And then I realized there's no 5'10" white guys in the NBA. So probably not, but maybe you can play college ball. So I'm like, all right, I'll try to play college ball. And in high school, I met this girl named Courtney and fell in love with her. She's just she can hang out with anyone type of thing.
Yeah.
just found the good in people immediately and connected with it, and just she was awesome, very easy to talk to. So kind of fell for her in high school. So I dated Courtney, played basketball in high school, served an LDS mission for about 2 weeks, got sent home from that LDS mission for things me and Courtney did. Played a year of basketball at Snow College in Ephraim, went back out on an LDS mission and served a full 2-year mission, came home, married Courtney. Played basketball at Dixie State. Courtney went to nursing school. Sorry, I'm just rambling.
This is good.
This is good.
Don't
Okay.
stop. Just keep going.
Courtney was an amazing nurse. I played basketball at Dixie State 2013 to 16. Had our first kid, Riggins, my senior year.
Okay.
Wouldn't recommend being a college athlete with a newborn with a wife that works graveyards. It was rough.
Yeah.
I remember, because Courtney would be working graveyards, I'd be feeding Riggins, and he had a tough time sleeping as a newborn baby. So I remember I'd go to the bathroom and turn the tub on because he liked the sound of the water, and I just doze in and out of sleep in the bathroom with Riggins, and then wake up at 5:30 for weights, and it was just it was hard.
It's rough.
Just graduated in 2016, and basketball was my whole life. I'm like, what am I gonna do now? And my old high school coach called me. He's like, Mace, what are you doing now that you're graduating? I'm like, I don't really know. I might try to hop on at Dixie State and coach, but I don't know. And he's like, dude, you got a degree in psychology, right? I'm like, yeah. We just have a teaching position at our high school, a psychology teaching position, and then you could be on my staff and coach. You could be the head sophomore basketball coach.
Up north.
Up north, my old high school. I'm like, what? Okay, let me ask Court. And Court's like, yeah, that sounds great. So we moved back up north, and then my coach, he leaves. He takes the Harriman job. Oh. So then I become the head coach.
Of which high school?
Of West Jordan High School.
Wow, okay.
So now I'm head coach at 25 or 26 at the 6A school. And
my gosh.
did pretty good. I got coach of the year in my second year. We were able to do some good
As
things.
a 25, 26-year-old.
I think I was 26 or 27 maybe.
That's a big accomplishment, though, man.
Yeah, that's a huge school.
But and I loved it. That was fun. And then I started training players on the side, and it kind of turned into your side gig.
It's more of a business.
Yeah, it's wait, I'm making more money than this. And then Nets on Fire here in St. George. You guys familiar with Nets on Fire?
Yes. Yeah.
They called me, 2021, I think. They're like, hey, you've been recommended to us from Jake Schroeder. He's an assistant at Utah Tech. He recruited me. Anyway, they were interested in me. And I'd never heard of the place, so I drive down, and I walk into Nets on Fire, and I'm like, this is heaven on earth. You guys want me to work here? And they're like, yeah, and we'll pay you this much. And if you know Ben Moore, he's a good guy to be in business with.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So I tell Courtney, this is a dream job. She's like, yeah. And we love St. George, and we always wanted to move back, and we're like, well, let's do it. And by the time I became the head coach and all that, Courtney and I had 2 more kids. We had Blue, and then we had our daughter Frankie, and we picked up our family and moved to St. George. And I loved working at Nets. It was my dream job. Courtney was such a good nurse. I think she had 3 job offers in a week, and she just got to pick She picked a home and hospice nurse, and she loved it. She'd visit these people that were on their deathbed, basically at home, and she would be at their house too long chatting with them, and she'd come home and feel bad, there's this guy all alone and I just can't stop. She's just so
such a good person,
so genuine and kind. And probably a couple months after I take that Nets on Fire job, we have a family reunion in Bear Lake, Utah, northern Utah, and it's the same weekend as our first tournament at Nets on Fire. So I tell my family, I can't go. I just took this job. It's our first tournament. I can't not be there.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we understand. But my wife decided to go with the kids. Yes, just be back Sunday and it'll be done. And my brother Race and his family also lived in St. George, and they were obviously going to the same family reunion. So I told Courtney to talk to my brother Race and see if they could drive together or at least follow each other. And Race had the same thing going on. His family couldn't go, but he could go, and his youngest son, Ryder, could go. So Race and Ryder got into my family's car and drove to the family reunion. And then July 25th, 2021, they were driving back, and sandstorm in Fillmore, Utah caused a I think it was like a 22 car pileup, and it killed 8 people, and 5 of them were my family. So my brother died, my nephew died, my wife died, my son Riggins died, my daughter Frankie died, and my son Blue was the one survivor. I remember driving to the hospital, and Jake Schroeder was driving me, and I just remember, I don't know if I said this to him, but I just remember thinking, you know, if Blue's not alive, then I'm gonna kill I'm out of here. I'm gonna kill myself. So I get to the hospital room, and I go up there, and he's in a neck brace, but he's okay. It was just for precautionary reasons, and he had a fractured hand and a pretty big cut on his skull, but not too serious, just bleeding a lot. We spent one night in the hospital and went somewhere else after that, and that's kind of what me and Blue have been dealing with and my family. I mean, it was a big wave that affected a lot of people, so it's not just me and Blue that are hurting, but yeah, that's kind of been what takes up my time and effort every day, is dealing with that. So yeah, that's kind of, sorry, I kind of just unloaded a lot right there.
I mean, that's...
But I just took over, I think. But anyway, that was me before 2021 to try to answer your question.
I know it's got to be painful to retell the story, but I'm grateful you did for our audience. I've heard the story, but I feel like it just is important, and it you know, we're gonna hear all about like some of the takeaways you've had from it, and there's no way that someone who hasn't experienced that kind of tragedy can relate. But I think what I want to hear more about your transformation after, because I think some of the lessons that you've learned and been able to teach others really make it worth retelling. And I want to thank you for like the sacrifice and the effort of doing it. And maybe I could even ask, like, why do you retell it and become a public speaker when it can't be easy to do?
I think my grief and trauma is similar to like brushing your teeth or eating food. If I go too long without talking about it out loud, you'll starve. These emotions will boil over into anger, self-sabotage, alcoholism, drug addiction, lots of bad things if I don't talk about it. So I think that's a big reason, is I just need to. I've replaced public speaking and podcasting with therapy, basically. And then I learned that, I got 2 messages this morning. I love your podcast. I lost my father 20 years ago. I haven't been able to deal with it until I listened to your podcast. Thank you. And then the other one was, I lost my child 28 years ago. I just did an episode with a lady from Tennessee who lost her child in a drowning accident, and she talks about her loving that podcast. So one of the things you're going to feel when you lose a loved one, and we're all dealing with grief. I don't know what your connection is with it, but one thing you all experience is you feel alone, because in your mind, the world just ended. And so you're confused, like, why, like, you have work today?
Yeah.
Like, why you? And so you just feel really alone and disconnected. But starting a podcast, like, helped me connect with all these people, and you don't feel alone. And when I say things that I'm like, I don't know how this is going to sound, and then people are like, wow, I'm glad you said that. I thought that. There's just real, in all the pain that you feel, that being connected in that pain with someone else is really powerful. And the joke is it's a community no one wants to be a part of. But once you're in it, and make the most of that community, because it's a long journey in the grief journey.
And there's a lot at stake too. Like, there's a lot of different directions people can take their lives after like experiencing tragedy, right? Like I've listened to your stuff, and it's like you're a leader within that community where people have a chance to like you said, end it or become less, or have a chance to become more. And I feel like that's the direction you've taken it, you know. What do you hope that people now that hear you speak, like, what do you hope that people take away from that experience?
Just seeing pictures of my family. I just kind of feel like they're alive, when I'm speaking. So, and it's hard because you have to be somewhat entertaining to be a public speaker. It just
Engaging.
Yeah, like you just have to be, or if you want to speak and continue to get gigs. And I hate the beginning of my speech because I start with Courtney, and I just want to tell them about Courtney, but then I know like you can't talk about, like, you're gonna lose them, and I feel so much frustration in public speaking of I wish I could talk. I wish I could tell more stories about them. And I think everyone would tell me like, "Oh, you can," but like in the reality, like I have 45 minutes, so I can't.
Yeah.
And that bugs me, and that's why I love podcasting. I get to talk about them a little bit more, but I love it because they see pictures of them, and I do get to talk about them, even if it's for a little bit. And I just want them to know who they were and how great they were. I mean, Frankie, my daughter, was 2, and the one I have all the memories with is Courtney, who's dead. So like, she's kind of like, is she real? Like, she's real, and she was amazing. So I just want people to know that. And then, like, I think the other one would be just to help someone talk about their thing. Like, just set an example of, hey, this is really scary and vulnerable, but maybe that will help you want to do it, type of thing. And, sometimes I speak to 12 people. Sometimes I speak to 1,000 people. And I like public speaking because 95% of the people you talk to, they're not going to care. And I don't mean that in like a rude way. Like, they're going to wake up tomorrow and worry about their mortgage, and they're not, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to, but usually I get one from every speaking event that comes up that I had an immediate impact on. You can just tell. Yeah. Usually in tears or whatever. And that's the payment, and that's what I'm looking for. And I think that's a good metaphor of life because, you go to Walmart, you go to work, you take your kid to the skate park, you just live daily life. 99% of the people you walk by aren't going to care. Like, a small percentage will, like, who follow my podcast, you guys, like, sure. But I like public speaking because I have to get up there and pour my soul and cry and do all this stuff and know that most people aren't going to care, but someone out there will. And I like that. That gives me a lot of purpose, and I think that's healthy for my psyche, and it's good therapy for me. So I think some of those would be some of my answers.
Sounds like you've been like a huge leader for a lot of people. Has there been someone that has like been like on the other end for you, like has been a leader for you or been a mentor for you, that like you've really, really relied on through everything? Because I hear that you've probably been helping tons of people, but who's that one person that you feel like has been the biggest help for you?
Definitely Blue. And I have a big list of people I could thank. From my brother, who I lived with for maybe the first, I don't remember, it's a fog, but maybe first 6 to 8 months after the accident, I lived with him. My sister-in-law, my in-laws, Courtney's family, my parents. I mean, I'm just going to leave a lot of people out if I go that route, but definitely Blue. He, like, all the pain and guilt I'm able to carry because of Blue and the relationship we have and how much he means to me. And so it's very far and away Blue, and being here for him. I love being a dad. That's my favorite thing.
What's Blue up to now? What's he doing?
He's in kindergarten, he's in first grade now, and he's gotten into skateboarding. Do you guys know what one-wheeling is? Got him he loves one-wheeling, dirt biking, basketball, football, baseball. I mean, the sports. I mean, he's a busy kid, and he loves trying everything, and he's hilarious. And yeah, we have a special bond, I think, and we have conversations that most 7-year-olds shouldn't be having, but he has to have, and I do think in a really messed up way that will help him down the road, being through that much adversity. But yeah.
Well, you talk about why you do the speaking, and it sounds like you talk about the reasons that you do it for you, right? Like, it's a good therapy. It helps you process things. You want to help other people feel like they can talk about it and get through it. But I feel like there's stories you tell that pull greatness out of maybe people that, like when you were talking about your wife, your late wife, who she worked in hospice, right? Like my first experience with grief was like my grandma when she moved in with my parents, and she died in our house, and she was 60. She was just way too young. Right? So, like I feel like that is maybe more like I can resonate with grief on that level, right? Like that's where I've been, and that was really, really tough for me as like a 12-year-old kid, So everyone's experienced grief like that, but there's a whole different world of grief that like you said, the community. But I feel like there's people that maybe aren't even in that community that can take the lessons that you teach and pull greatness out of them, right? I heard that story told about your brother Race, where he took out. Do you want to tell it or should I tell it?
You tell it. I'll listen. This will be great.
I watched this video 20 times. So his brother Race, correct me if I make any mistakes.
I'm just going to listen. Okay. I'm going to pretend I'm in the crowd. This is great.
Good. So his brother Race is an amateur boxer and really a wrestler. And he gets this opportunity to fight this, is it a pro or is it like?
So it's his professional debut. So if he wins this fight, he's now eligible to be professional and can pick up professional fights. So he's good. He's the real deal.
So the guy who was gonna fight this guy drops out. So they call around asking who's crazy enough to go fight this guy in New York. And his brother Race answers the call. And he goes, fights in New York. And it's just you're just a really good storyteller, because he just tells the story like the fight starts and it's over. Like his brother is like obviously getting the tar beat out of him. Like it's over. Like, but he goes to his corner between rounds and just tells his trainer, just like, don't throw in the white flag. Like whatever you do, like I can get knocked out. You guys can carry me out of here on a stretcher, or I'm going to keep going the distance and finish the fight. Dude, that gives me goosebumps. And like you relate it to like where you're living in that fight of just like getting punched in the teeth, kicked in the nuts all the time. But you have that example from your brother of not throwing in the white flag. And I think that kind of resilience is something that every person should develop in this life, right? Whether that's, with business requires, like, the people who are good, the good business owners are the people that just don't quit. They just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, they just take punches. Spiritually, like people that are people of faith, they're the people that just don't quit. If having faith was easy, like it would be that kind of thing where like the first sign of trouble, you just give up, right? A marriage, any sort of relationship, like the resilience that you can remind people of by telling those stories is, to me, like universal. And we came here to this earth to develop these traits of greatness, like resilience. And so for me, like that one thing has just sharpened my focus on that. It's probably like doesn't even do the experience justice, but that whole Tim McGraw song of Live Like You're Dying is just brought back to life with someone that's actually local here, that it's like, no, we should be living every day to the fullest. We do need resilience. We do need to, talk sweeter, love deeper, like be who you want to be no matter what, And so those are some of the things that I feel like they apply to everyone outside of the community.
Yeah.
What kind of groups are you speaking to most of the time?
There's high schools, men's groups, hospitals, construction companies, law firms, like you name it. Lots of sports teams. They love the race story. So anyone really.
Are you doing that? Is that like your full-time job now?
I cleaned pools for about 6 months. I just got laid off, those bastards. I don't know what they're doing over there, but
he was distracting the single lady clients. The moms at home, they were saying too many conflicts of interest.
I wish that were true. That'd be cool. But this is it's kept me really busy, but in a good way, I think.
That's good.
It's mostly what I do.
I got a couple more questions for you then.
Fire away, dude.
So how can people who aren't in the community, what are the do's and don'ts for them? What should they do if someone close to them experiences a tragic event, and what shouldn't they do?
Man, it's hard to know what to say because, yeah, what do you say? But I do think showing up matters. You're not going to know what to say,
No.
but just show up and cry with them or hug them. And I wouldn't say it. I would listen, just be ready to listen. And I liked, well, I can tell you what I liked. I don't know if that's what you should do because grief's very tricky, but
Yeah.
I liked it when people said, "This sucks. I don't know what it's like. I'm sorry. I'm here," type of thing, versus they're in a better place. Everything happens for a reason. God works in a mysterious way. Like, that stuff didn't resonate with me. It just made me angry. But even if you said one of those things that made me angry, if you showed up, then that was enough. Like, I love those people that said stupid shit to me, but at least they were there. And,
Yeah.
and that's the reality is they're hurting too. They're hurting too. These people are trying to talk to you, and they want the pain and the awkwardness to go away for you and for them. Like, it just hurts for everyone. And so, of course, they're going to try to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see them again. Like, that, I mean, in a way, that's beautiful. They're just trying to ease this pain that they know I'm feeling. But, that type of lingo didn't help me and still doesn't help me. But I guess to answer your question, show up and be with them, yeah.
I mean, when I've heard you speak, like your take is very like brutally honest. Like you don't try to sugarcoat things. Like this experience is really just like I've heard you say it sucks. Hard to find, like, and I'm sure that is like a trigger or very frustrating when people try to be positive about it.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's like, well, you don't, I'm sure from your perspective, it's like, well, you don't understand if you think there's something positive about this kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more of like, you can give me the list of 1,000 things that will come from this that'll be good. Yeah. But I would throw it away in a second for Frankie back. Just give me Frankie back. And so that's the reality I live in. And listen, like, I believe life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. It happened. They died. I wish they didn't. I wish a lot of things, but that's the reality I live in. And now the only question that I have any control over is, what am I going to do about it? And I like to try to make good things come from it. But that's a struggle. A lot of days I don't do anything, and it's hard to get out of bed, and it's a struggle, but that's why I love the story of race. I'm in a fight I can't win. I can't get any of them back. I can give the coolest speech and the greatest podcast, but I'm not getting them back. You're going to lose. And so you know you're going to lose this fight, but just like race, like, all you have control over is, how are you going to fight? Are you going to try to finish, even though you can't win? And, yeah, I'm going to go the distance with this thing, and a large part of that isn't because I'm really cool or strong. It's because of Blue. I think most guys, if they had a son, they would be doing the exact same thing I'm doing.
You'd hope so. I
don't think I'm this crazy special guy. I think I'm a very unfortunate, unlucky guy. But yeah, I'm just rambling now, but those are some of my thoughts.
That was what I was asking. I mean, it's I think that would be like, my instinct is to, your knee-jerk reaction is to try to tell someone the positive. Yeah. But I think probably you're better off to just maybe suffer or mourn alongside, because I think a lot of times it's not like they're not ready yet for any kind of consolation. Like, you're trying to, like you said, life's 90% about what you do about it, just 10% about what happened, right? So, like, you're trying to find the good in this, but the weight will never, the counterbalance will never be there for you, and just that you would rather have obviously, like any of these good experiences, you throw them all in the trash for your family back, you know? I mean, what do you think about, how are you attacking the future? Like when you think about, okay, like this has been 3+ years. How do you anticipate and maybe you've seen like some of the other people you've networked with, right? Because like you said, some of those stories are decades old now. How do you hope your grief ages?
Oh, wow. How do I hope my grief ages? Well, I hope it ages with more and more people I've helped along the way. I hope it ages where I'm in more control of my thoughts and emotions. Because right now I'm driving down the road and anything could remind you of any of them. And you're just kind of thrust into this daydreaming state, which is fine because you want to honor the grief, but then you're not living in the moment. Like I'm not being a present dad to Blue now and so it's like this balancing act. And I hope that I get it to be more balanced because let's talk about one of the good things of losing someone you love is you appreciate the moment much more. Like you just understand how fragile it is. Not that you're saying anything different or doing anything different, but you're just able to appreciate it more.
Your perspective is different though.
Right. And then the flip side though is, well, the people you're in the moment with, you want to be with the other people. And then all of a sudden you're daydreaming about the past and the future and it's hard to stay in reality. And then it's hard to express any of this because you don't want the people you're in the room with to feel bad. Because I love them and I am happy actually. Like I am happy, but communication gets really hard when it comes to trauma and grief when you're continuing to live life and fall in love again like I have, and things like that can be difficult. And when communication doesn't happen, things get rough really fast. So back to your question, how do I want my grief to age? I want it to be more balanced with it and be more under control with it versus it controlling me at times.
Yeah. You kind of maybe slipped that detail in there. You said you fall in love again.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like I got to ask more about that. Like
Sammy, she's awesome. Yeah. She made it, Blue and her made it really easy. Like they connected and they are getting along. And so that made it really easy for me. A big part of my story too is I asked for help. Guys, I mean, it's hard for guys to ask for help. Like, I can do it. Like, no, help me. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, let me help you. And it's funny because I love helping people. If one of my buddies like, Mace, can you help me move this? Can you help me? I'm there. I love helping people. But for some reason, no, I got this. But I can't, definitely can't do this alone. So Sammy's helped with, she's awesome. And her relationship to Blue, and I'm very much a space cadet when it comes to scheduling and planning. And it's hard for me to look into the future. I just can't quite get past tomorrow. And so she scheduling and she does all that stuff for me and Blue. So yeah, she's awesome. Thanks, Sam.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need someone that's always looking ahead, sounds like she's really stepped in and done a lot for you guys.
Yeah, and she gets it. Like she accepts the grief. Like I'm gonna be grieving over another woman my whole life. And she's like, yeah, I get it. And so yeah, she's been amazing.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but a really special perspective from her as well,
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing hearing you talk and keep showing up. That's the biggest thing that keeps going through my mind. And I think, it for people that it's hard to reconcile like your life experience with, all the things that are my life experience, right? And I feel like the exercise of trying to put myself in your shoes and just like, I know it's not empathize, because empathize you have to have experienced it, but sympathize is like trying your best to go there and be with that like experience and take any lessons you can learn from it, apply it in your life. Like I feel like that's really beneficial. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah. And thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
For having me come here.
No, for sure. I would like to know a little bit more about like your family.
Dude, I got nothing to do today until like 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I'm going to Costco.
Tell me more about Riggins. What are some cool how old was he again?
So he was a week away from turning 6, so he's
Okay.
5. And he woke up before everyone else did and knew how to turn on the TV and start his show. And then Courtney designed the pantry so he could get his own snacks. So that way he wouldn't wake us up. Like, he would just get your snacks. And so I'd wake up and he'd be watching his show and say, "Oh, hey, Daddy." And I'm just like, dude, like, what are you doing awake? But he's very much like his mom like that. He'd just wake up and just be ready to go. And just as he would talk to anyone, strangers, whatever. He was his mom. He was very much like Courtney. And I do feel, I mean, when you talk about loved ones that have passed away, usually they just become like Greek gods all of a sudden. Like, they never did anything
You
wrong.
romanticize
Yeah,
that.
it's just like, I
It's
mean,
an amazing thing.
and he is a kid. I mean, he had, yeah. But I do feel like he was very sympathetic for such a young age and could read people well. At least me and Courtney, if we were stressed or sad, he would kind of hug us or ask us a question or kind of distract us or make the room a little less awkward with whatever he could do. And I remember one time, I'm like, if you can save up money, I'll take you to Walmart and you can buy whatever toy, like if you save up. And so he saves up for a couple weeks, which is a long time for a 5-year-old. So he saves up, I don't know, like $8-9. I'm driving him to Walmart, and I'm in this fast food line getting food before. This homeless guy comes up to the window and knocks, and I'm like, no, like, sorry, I don't have cash, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever you say to these guys, I don't know. And so I roll up the window, and he goes away, and Reagan's like, Dad, you could give him my piggy bank. I have like $8. And Courtney was with me, and we just like looked at each other like, trying not to grow, like, what, buddy? Like, no, keep your money. But just a sweet kid. So if I had a long day at work, I'd come in and Dad, let's play fight, or let's play basketball, or let's play superheroes, and immediately flip. I mean, if I had come home after losing a high school game, and it just sounds ridiculous that I used to get so mad about that, but yeah, I'd come home and he would just flip my whole day around. And then we named him Riggins from the TV show Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. That was
Tim
my
Riggins.
that was my follow-up question.
We watched that show.
Yeah.
We're best buddies from high school, and we used to watch that every single day.
Probably really good friends because of that show.
Yeah, no, me and Courtney love that show. And so obviously we named our son Riggins, and yeah, we liked Riggins because, you know, Riggins was far from perfect, especially season 1. Like,
Right.
with Lila and everything.
Yes.
Just talking about Friday Night Lights. But man, I just feel like type of friend he was and what he cared
How
about.
he showed up.
And the simple life that he wanted. I always admired about him. And so yeah, we named Riggins.
Well, spoiler. I mean, they capped the show off well because he took the hit for his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember watching that. Like,
I know.
Billy, you suck.
He was always the one that seemed like he was the biggest troublemaker, but he was genuine. Like, he cared about his people. Like, he would be there for you no matter what.
The character arc.
Yeah.
Right, like he started as kind of like the bad guy, and he finished as the hero.
Yeah. I love
1090 right there. There you go.
That's really, really cool. What about Frankie?
Frankie, she would have this scream. Like, she could have been an X-Men or something, like the shockwave scream. And my dad, he's like deaf, like he can't hear, and so he has these hearing aids that are like full power, and it picked up every high pitch of her scream. So them in the same room together was just hilarious. Like, and she like kind of caught on, like, and so it was just hilarious. But Frankie chased her older brothers around and was very much a tomboy. Very pretty like her mom. Changing her diaper was like a game. It was a sport to her. Like, trying to get away. If she did get away and was running around the house naked, she thought it was hilarious. And it didn't help because I would try to pop her toes, just try to, like, you know, mess with her. And so we would do that stuff. I remember I would rest my head on her lap, and she would just kind of pull my hair. And I just loved that. It just felt so good, and I thought it was so cute. And the other thing with Frankie is, you guys have kids? You have a daughter? Yeah, like,
I have a 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah, we both have a 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah, and I just miss being a girl dad. And obviously still a dad with Blue, and part of me feels guilty for saying that because I love Riggins and miss him tremendously. But yeah, like I don't get to be a girl dad, and Frankie was the only body that I saw. They wouldn't let me see anyone else because they were so bad looking. So I do think that is a little bit different in my grief with her as well. As I feel like I got a little more closure with her in some ways because I saw her, even though it ripped my heart out, and I see her body every day. But I am glad that I saw her and talked to her and kissed her one last time. And my brother Sage, he's like, hey, I wouldn't see any of them, but you can see Frankie if you want. Like, there's not a scratch on her. And there wasn't. She was ice cold, but she looked pretty. And I just miss her and how much she was like her mom and all the daddy-daughter things that we got robbed of. And thanks for asking about her. Appreciate it. And Riggins.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful. I mean, like we, I don't know if this is a good thing to say or a bad thing to say, but like we both have a 2-year-old daughter, and Callan has a 5-year-old son. You know, Boston's probably Blue's age now, you know.
Yeah.
That's how old Riggins was. So it's like just makes it closer to home when you're like you're living with that. So still incomprehensible, but I feel like I hope that someone, like you said, hope that someone hears this and is changed, because it changes me. So if nothing else, I could be that one.
There you go, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it hurts because I also love, I love being a girl dad too, because I have a 2-year-old, and it's like, it's just different, you know. She like wants to snuggle, you know. She wants her arm around you. She wants you to carry her everywhere, you know. It's just like different than like with your son, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, just it hurts. Like, it hurts to think about that.
How can so our goal now is to just kind of get the message out there. I think the 1090 message is a big deal. How can people reach out to you? Like, what's the best way to link up? And
mostly through Instagram. We are almost done with the website. That will help, because speaking gigs and getting people on our podcast is mostly done through our Instagram, I would say, which is good, but a lot of people just fall through the cracks. So we're trying to get better at it. So we're hoping to have a website that will fix it, but it's mostly through Instagram. I do think my audio guy runs a TikTok, so I think we have a TikTok too. And I do think we have a YouTube channel too. Type in 1090 and go for it if you care enough. If not, then that's fine.
This is a side topic, but has the business of public speaking, has that been tough? Has it been like something that just clicked? Is this easy, or has there been challenges with that?
No, I get the heart. I just have a lot of guilt getting money for speaking, and so what I'm trying to do with this website is just create a foundation. So all the money I make public speaking for a year, then I'll give it to someone. That way I don't feel guilty and I can still help people. And yeah, and so that's kind of. But it's been. My advice would be just say yes to everything. Like I remember my first one was at a boys' home in Cedar City. Bunch of 13-year-old kids with really messed up past, and I talked to them in this cafeteria with a whiteboard, and that's where I started. So yeah, I don't know how to measure the success of it. I don't know how to answer your question that way. To me, I feel like it's been a success because I do it a lot. I get really good feedback, and I feel good doing it. So yeah, we'll keep going.
I would definitely not feel guilty about it, because it's an exchange of value. Like, yeah, like you don't want to monetize tragedy, but you have to put food on the table for you, and you're giving something so valuable to someone. You're changing their perspective, and maybe it'll fade, but maybe it'll stick. You know what I mean? And so I think if people want to pay to serve, whether it's their business or their school or their sports team, like there's a serious exchange of value. And I think, yeah, I definitely wouldn't feel bad about it at all. I think it's amazing. And I think a lot of people could do well to share their story more. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have experienced something similar that they're just not willing to share.
Yeah, also, there are people similar to my story who have shared, and they're on my podcast. I mean, I have over 100 episodes of people with terrible tragedy that will rip your heart out. But hearing their 90% is like, wow. Like, at least to me, like, is inspiring and helps me go, and I learn a lot from them. So, yeah, check it out. If your life sucks and you're going through a lot of trauma, you'll love my podcast probably.
Yeah, if you need a good cry, if you need to get back to what's important in life, I feel like it's sobering to listen to them.
See, you're a good salesman. These are good words I should use. These are better.
You have a good way of storytelling, but like for me, it's like very sobering to listen to that. Sobering to have you on, but it's more important to like have that experience and move forward better than to shy away from it, right? And I feel like that's something you've done is you've leaned into it, you face it, right? One of my favorite metaphors is like the difference between the cows and the buffalo. You heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So it's probably every podcast ever shares it, but like this reminds me of that because, you know.
You better share it for those who.
Okay, so I'm going to share. So like when cows see a rainstorm, have I shared this with you before? So just for a recap.
Yeah.
I've shared this with everybody.
This is how I end my public speaking.
Really?
With this analogy.
Okay, maybe I've heard it on your stuff. I'm pretty sure I had heard it before I got into your stuff. Yeah, I'm not.
Well, you know what's weird is it's. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's such a great analogy, and I never heard it till after losing my family. And it's so weird to me. Like, how come I never heard this before? It's so cool. Anyway,
I'm not plagiarizing you. I'm plagiarizing.
I'm trying to tell you, I didn't come up with it. It's not mine.
I know. For anyone, it sounds like everyone ever has heard this. So the fact that I have to rehash it.
Whose analogies is this?
If you haven't heard this and you're listening, you've been under a rock.
Yeah.
What if someone hasn't heard this and like, what is it? Will someone say
it? It's exactly why I want him to say it or just say the episode.
If you're that one person who's so sheltered, you haven't heard this, here it goes. So when the cows see a rainstorm coming, they run away from it and they end up staying in it longer. Like they move in the same direction and they're just stuck in the storm. But like the buffalo, they see it coming and they run at it, so they pass through it quicker. And that's what you're
should
doing.
Be a public speaker,
dude. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
I'll hit you up for tips.
That was it. That was all I had.
But yeah, it's that's what we're doing. Like that's what you're doing here with the 1090 mission is just like you're helping people like confront life, take life on. Be the person you were born to be your best self and take things on versus running. So I mean, it means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, we've got so much value today, so
absolutely.
I just can't say enough. Thanks for another great episode of the Beyond Net Worth podcast.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Thanks, Mason. This episode is brought to you by Baseco. Baseco Foundation and Concrete Solutions specialize in foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete lifting. They have the ability to lift settled or sinking foundations, permanently waterproof homes and structures, underpin and support new foundations and structures, erect sizable block retaining walls, and lift settled concrete slabs, including sidewalks, driveways, patios, and garage floors.
Yeah, I know Rock personally, and he's a close friend, and I wouldn't trust anyone else as a real estate investor. The foundation's the most important piece, and it can make or break any deal, so we appreciate Baseco. This episode is brought to you by Big Storage Ventures. We are now inviting you to team up and partner alongside us. We bring our experience hunting storage deals and maximizing the self-storage asset to provide our partners with cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation, all in one recession-resistant asset. Leverage our sister company, Big Ben's Moving Service, to fill your facility and give you an edge over the competition. Reach out to bigstorageventures@gmail.com or DM Big Storage Ventures on Instagram to team up.